Yo, what's good? This is Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. Y'all watching Hip Hop Uncensored
Hip
Podcast.
Hop Uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Oh God, driving Sam and riding passenger side. And you heard it out the mouth of the greatest rapper.
Hey, if you want to become a sponsor for Hip Hop News Uncensored, email me right now at advertise@hiphopun.com. That's advertise@hiphopun.com. Do not wait.
They roll too well, but I'm a heavy researcher and a very instinctive observer of human nature and people. Always have been since I was a child. I used to entertain my family by mimicking Michael Jackson and James Brown, just to make my family laugh. So I think it started there and in the church. I've always been creative, but they kept shoving a football in my hand. It's like to be creative or to be a rapper, to do anything, to be a poet. You don't know you're poor. You don't know you're different because of your environment. That's why I really love hip hop artists, because they're poets. They just don't know how to exercise that creativity because it's not masculine. And then they go all the way out, with the mythos, the pathos in terms of their rap and do very, very well. But they're artists. They're poets at the end of the day. You know what I mean? All of them are not gangsters. I know that for a fact. I rode on the back of a garbage truck with DMX, laughing and talking about his White album that he never released, where he had this incredible gospel voice, man. He sounded like Gerald Levert. And I begged him. I went toe to toe with him, over a bottle of $3,000 bottle of Louis, arguing about him. Man, really, he used to sing to my cat when we were doing Exit Wounds. He would roll up on me and always throw his Rough Rider jeans at me, wanted me to sag. I said, man, I ain't sagging right now, nigga. Nigga, I'm wearing Prada. He's like, y'all, come on. You can't roll with me like this. I like, I'll throw on some Timberland boots, but they gotta be made. They gotta be boots made by Prada. I'm not rocking. I'm out of Brooklyn. I'm not doing that no more, man. But that was the time, and I miss him. I really do. I'm just shocked that he's gone. He lived a hard life. He was what you saw, that was who he was, but he was also, believe it or not, a very kind, generous, deeply spiritual man. And I don't know, I'm getting myself in trouble with that White Album. I don't know if they're gonna release it. I hope they do, but it is the truth. I remember he telling me, he said, Isaiah, if I release the people not gonna follow me. But if you notice in his recent album, he's praying at the end like a preacher. He said he always, like in Belly, he always thought his life was gonna end up in the pulpit. But something in him anyway, I digress. But anyway, he never, I really believe Tupac and Biggie could have become our latter day Malcolm X's.
Wow.
I really do. I really, really do. Because if you look at the history of Malcolm X, he was no saint.
Right.
And if you studied it, if you believe in that good Bible, most of the men left to right of Jesus Christ, they were no saints.
Right.
That's okay. True. But that's my thing on that. I don't know why they're gone. I have my theories, my conspiracy theories, but they were very Biggie and DMX, Pac, very powerful voices, man. When Tupac died, they put his obituary in The Economist magazine. The Economist magazine comes out of London. Only high dignitaries, presidents, get memorialized in Economist magazine. That just tells you how powerful Tupac's voice was. And now we're discovering just how powerful DMX's voice was.
Yeah.
Right? And they're gone. I'm always asking myself, why? But anyway.
When DMX passed away, were you surprised to hear what they say is the cause of death when you heard it, when we all heard it?
Next question. In my mind, everybody has their opinion, right?
Right.
I believe the hospital is the last place I'm going to go. If you hear anything about me, it won't be in the hospital, bro. I'm not going to commit suicide. And I told him, I'm not going to the hospital. I just got out of COVID. And everybody, I'm still wheezing, but I'm still self-caring and handling myself. I'm not going to the hospital, bro.
Gotcha.
Ain't no way. Not doing it. I'm gonna have to be really, really hurt before you roll me through those trauma doors. I worked in the medical. I've seen in Inglewood what goes on in the trauma wards.
Mm.
Okay, and I know there are a lot of good doctors and nurses out there, but if you really want to know what's really going on in society, walk through a trauma center. Walk through some emergency room. You really want to know what's going on in the world. It is war out there, but I don't have to tell you guys that.
Mm.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, how can this be? We're in the 21st century. And I went through this when I was 23. Like, wait a minute. How can it still be this bad? How can people still be this illiterate? How can people still be hustling and having to hustle, have no other options? Still. PCP is still a thing here in California.
Mm-hmm.
People still getting wet.
Yeah.
They're still making money.
Yeah.
We got some of our own gang members out here sex trafficking our own people. You can't be a foster care person that just be put out on the street at 18. You're done. West of Adams Street, you're going to disappear. Why? And so we say houseway. Now, I know capitalism, everybody got to make money, but what is going on? What so many of our people are forced on making these choices. It's not like you can't make another choice, like what you guys are doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why is it so attractive? Well, look at social media. Look at the movies that people are making, which is why my movie, I deprive the audience of blatant and gratuitous violence. So people look at my movie and it's all implied. It's like, oh my God, it's so violent. That scene, this, and I'm not showing you anything.
Right.
I'm not showing you anything. What that tells me, that social media and the media has gotten our society, collectively speaking, so desensitized from actual violence that we see posted. This guy recently getting stabbed in the neck. Everybody will go to their phone before they try to help somebody today.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Unfortunately.
Man.
How did we get there? Well, I know how we got there. Everybody has a cell phone. You don't need a license for that. But it's a smartphone. It's a GPS system. It's a tracking system. Even when it's turned off, they can track you. And now people posting their anger, their rage, their personal information. The algorithm knows, well, okay, this is what we want to feed the beast. This is what they want to see. So then when a movie comes out that doesn't have the visual violence in it, and just your imagination is making it seem like it's worse than what you're actually seeing, that tells me that you rather see real violence and you have been taught that your imagination is the thing to fear.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a society where we, collectively speaking, been taught that our imagination is more diabolical and more supposed to be more feared than what we're actually seeing in real time.
Something I've always appreciated about you is you, throughout the 3 decades that you've been in the game, we've seen you do a multitude of actors. You've played in Crooklyn, you've played in Strictly Business, you've played in Romeo Must Die, Girl 6, NYPD Blue, Grey's Anatomy. I'm going to say this: you've played so many different roles. You would get on a bus, you were a gay man. You never came on stage and gave us the thought that you were cooning and buffooning or doing anything extra. You always had a level of integrity as a black man in Hollywood, something that we appreciate. We often ask some of the legendary people we get to speak to. Yeah. Talk about your journey through Hollywood as a black man. Was that something that you were mindful of? Is that something that you felt pressured to do? How did you stand as Isaiah Washington walking into some of these rooms and these roles, hearing some of the things that you heard throughout your time, if you don't mind me asking?
Sam de los Santos. That is by far, I got chill bumps, the best question that has ever been asked of me or to me in 26 years.
Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast.
And my answer is this. I love being a black melanated man I don't know how to be weak. My grandmother, my mothers didn't raise me to be weak or afraid of any man or anything or any system. They spoiled me and told me I was built for greatness, even though I didn't know what that greatness was. Through the grace of God, according to them in the church. But I saw a lot of corruption in the church, so they will always tell me to spread the love and speak your truth. If you stand on your truth, you will have longevity. But if you stand on a lie, you will die.
Mm.
So even when I agreed to play these stereotypical characters, I always risked being fired by changing it up once I got the job. I would rewrite most of my scenes. If you see me in Romeo Must Die, I was giving homage to Shaft in the end, even though I was playing a bad guy. I had on a leather suit that my wife designed, and Joel Silver wanted to fire. He put in my next contract for Exit Wounds that I would not be dressed better than any of his lead actors in a movie ever again. He wanted me to wear a cane, be playing football with some gold fronts, gold chains, Kango hat turned backwards, with Stacey Adams shoes on with a silk shirt. I'm like, dude, I ain't Slick Rick, bro. I don't do Slick Rick. All right. You know, he wanted me to have a patch on my eye. When I went into the wardrobe, the Slick Rick was the prototype for my character, Mac.
Wow.
Slick Rick. Nothing against Slick Rick.
Right.
But I'm like, bro, this is year 1999, almost 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Slick Rick was at the height of his career in the 80s, yo.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kept my mouth shut, got the job, and then put that thug on them. Like, what you gonna do about it?
Right.
You gonna fire me? Because I got people that ain't been born yet that one day is gonna ask me a question. How did you stand? Well, I do it. There's a penalty for that. You get besmirched. That's difficult. Angry, hard to work with, and that, man, you know, other than if you take off Grey's Anatomy and recently whatever about two things off the internet right now, you don't know anything about me. You don't know that I've been married to the same woman from Houston, Texas for 26 years, brown skin, melanated sister, great body to this day at 53, banging, 3 beautiful kids that speak multiple languages, no DUIs, no domestic violence. Man, I don't even have a speeding ticket in the last 10, 15 years. I ain't got a speeding ticket.
Wow.
But let the world tell you I'm public enemy number 1. Well, what Malcolm X tell you about that?
Mm-hmm.
What Malcolm X warned us about that?
Yeah.
Why is it that the so-called great ones that you, wait a minute, how can he be a monster when I don't? Who telling me this? Who's telling me this? I train with special forces. I train with law enforcement. Why? Because I want to see who they really are. I want to get in the belly of the beast. I want to know what they know. I want to know their SOP. I want to know their TTP. I want to know their AAR. I want to understand their language. That's why I'm playing a U.S. Marshal, one of the baddest men that wouldn't be a thick mustache cowboy from John Wayne to Sam Elliott in 1883 if it wasn't for Bass Reeves. That man made over 3,000 federal arrests with some of the baddest human beings on the planet in an area that was worse than Afghanistan and Iraq and Chicago combined.
Wow.
In the heat, where 250 less melanated marshals died because the Native Americans that were angry and organized from the Trail of Tears weren't having it in the Indian Territory. They were kicking everybody from the U.S. government's behinds. So they had to go to what? A black man that was illiterate, spoke all the languages because he got into a fight with his brother or his master over a card game. He disrespected him. We talk about that in the movie. He just like you guys get into a beef. Well, this guy was treated like Michael Jordan because he was such a crack shot since he was 8 years old. His mother used to stop him from singing songs about murder and bank robberies because he thought he wanted to be a criminal. But he was incredible at tracking. And when he ran away from the Confederacy and fled to the Indian Territories before it became Oklahoma, they realized the only person they could hire to clean that area up in 32 years was Bass Reeves.